Hi, everyone. It's me, Tim. Today, I want to talk about what I like in an RPG. And what I mean by that is what elements do I like to see in RPGs that I play, which are unsurprisingly elements in RPGs that I made. I don't want to get into the whole what what is an RPG versus what's an action game versus what's an adventure game. But I will say that the more of these elements I see in an RPG, the more likely I am to like it and enjoy it. And the fewer of these I see, well, then I lean towards not liking it. And if there's too few, I do kind of question whether you made an RPG. These are things that I think I've had for a long time. I remember having these discussions at Interplay in the 90s, and Interplay made a lot of RPGs. And some of them I questioned, like, are you sure you should be doing that? That does not feel RPG-esque to me. So I'll try to walk these through. I'll try to put them into different categories and then talk about in each category. So let's start with making a character. So I prefer RPGs that only let me make one player character. I've broken this rule. I did it in Bard's Tale. I broke that rule in Temple of Elemental Evil, but it was because those games kind of had a expectation that they would be like that. The reason I prefer one character is a whole bunch of reasons. Immersion. I am this character. This is me running around the world. Later on, when I talk about story reaction, well, if you have one character, that's who the story is reacting to. If you can make a whole party of characters and they're all vaguely you, then the story has to react to all of them. And what if you have a paladin and an assassin in the same party? How's it supposed to be reacting to that? And then finally, I like replayability in RPGs. And I feel like you get more of that if you're restricted to make one character, because then you have to play that character and build that character a certain way, and the game should react to that character. So then it's fun to go back and make a different character for replayability. So that factors into the next thing I want when I'm making a character is I want a really, really rich creation system. And that means I don't care if it's attributes, skills, traits, perks, backgrounds, itemization, whatever you let me do to my character. I want to be able to make a wide variety of characters, huge variety. Now, I understand that I can't make everything, and that makes sense. I mean, in Fallout, I don't let you make Superman, but I want to be able to make any character that reasonably could exist in that world, and I want to play them that way. And your character creation system is that first step. That's where you present to me, hey, look at all the things you might want to do. So you've got to really have that rich upfront creation system. Part of that is I want to name my character. I don't mind if he gets a nickname or something because you want NPCs to refer to him a certain way, and they have voiceover, and so you can't voice over every name. I know games have tried to do that, but I just want to be able to name my character. And this is one of the first, I shouldn't say arguments, but long discussions I had at Interplay, because Stonekeep didn't let you do that. And I remember thinking, we're veering towards adventure game here. Like, it's an adventure game with hit points because you're not letting me make my character. It also means, and this is a little different than the rich creation system, I don't like when I'm already provided a role. The more exacting the role, the less I like it. Like if you, like Arcanum starts and it says you were just going to that continent to look for a job. So you could make any kind of character you wanted. Who knows why you were going to Tarrant on that blimp? Maybe you were going to go be a mage assistant. Maybe you were going to be work on the train system. Maybe you were just going to be a reporter at the paper. It doesn't matter. It's not defined. Have fun with it. But the more the game upfronts your background into the character creation system, I don't like it. In fact, I also have a rule that I've told several design colleagues: you get one use of amnesia. One. Use it wisely and then stop using it. It is a trope I'm done with. I'm tired of making a character who, like, I have no idea who I am and how I got here. I bumped my head or whatever. Tired of that. I also don't like player VO. I get that a lot of people do, but I don't, because unless you can provide a huge range of player VO, you're basically telling me my character sounds like this and talks like this and has this intonation, which makes me think they have a certain personality, and you've just taken all this agency away from me. It's frustrating. Wow, I just spent 5 minutes, and all I'm talked about so far is character creation. So let's get into progression. Um, Kind of the twin to character creation. I want a very rich progression system, and I mean, I want lots of ways for this character to advance. Doesn't mean it has to be levels, although that's a really good way of tracking it. And what it means is more than just my hit points go up or my skills get a little better. I want advancement through skills and perks and items. Maybe my items get better when I go up a level, or I can craft better items, or I can buy better items, or I can find better items. Advancement can be done in so many ways, and I really like it when advancement is gated through choices the players previously made. Like perks that have a skill prerequisite. Those are awesome because you can choose what skills to advance as you play the game, but then you might see, like, oh, this perk is not available to me because I'm just not that good with handguns. I also like things that become available, perks or items, if you join a faction and get them to like you. I like that because it's the game basically saying, here is a progression path for your character that really depends on what you're doing and how you're acting. It's player progression is really a way of rewarding the player. So I love tying it into how they're acting because it's one of the richest, this is a consequence for your action that I can think of, which actually gets me to story. I want stories that react to me, the player character. I know I've talked about this in other videos, but I don't like it when a narrative designer writes a whole story and it's all written and decided upon before I ever even started the game exactly what I go through and how it will end. I hate that. Why don't I just watch a movie? It's far better. Probably has better special effects. It's probably got a better told story because the pacing is controllable. It's strange to me that there are RPGs out there that don't have choice points in their storyline that allow the story to go down different branches. I talked about the football model a few videos back, where you can do different things and it leads to the same choice point, but that choice point feels different because of the context you got there. Like, you got that key and you got into that dungeon, but did you kill to get it? Did you steal it? Did you buy it? Did you convince the person to give it to you? Did you do a quest for them and make them really friendly to you so they gave it to you? Those are all wildly different ways of getting that key, which is what you need to advance the storyline. But the context comes with it, and if the game world reacts to that context, then even though they all converge on that point, there's wildly different contexts for that point. And that gets me to like different factions. That's why I like having different factions that react differently to what you do. So you do something and maybe one faction likes it and the other faction gets upset. That's interesting because it makes you have to make a choice. I like that games have multiple endings. I mean, trust me on this, I love the multiple endings in games, and I'll talk more about that later. But if your story only has one ending, it makes me wonder why I chose to do different things on the way to that ending. And then finally, that brings me to the other thing about story is that story needs to be completable no matter what kind of character I made. Doesn't mean every character is easy to get to the end of that story. But if I make a character that I decide is Mr. Talkie, and he's really bad with weapons and he's really bad at sneaking, and I get to the end of your game and I can't finish it because you decide to throw a giant robot at me that doesn't even talk and I need to fight it, not sure I like that. In fact, we made very sure, because there was a giant robot at the end of Outer Worlds, that there were other solutions to either defeat it or debuff it a lot before you attacked it. And that's why. Which gets me to different playstyles. Way back in Fallout, we talked about the combat, dialogue, and stealth playthrough. So you just fighting everything, killing everything is fighting. The dialogue one is try to talk your way past as many encounters as you can, and then the stealth path is avoid the encounters, sneak past them, steal things from them, find alternative ways into places. But in Outer Worlds, I explored a fourth one called Leadership, which is you might want to do any one of those or multiple ones of those, but you do it by getting companions that are really good and help you do those things. So you yourself may not be good at stealth, but you're a good leader and you have a stealthy guy in your group. By the way, that's the kind of group I like making, which unlike Temple, where you made all your characters at the beginning, I like what Pillars did, where you made one character and that's you, and then you gather a party as you play. That if I was going to make a D&D game now, I'd probably do that. But that isn't the only playstyles you have to support. I mean, there's an exploration playstyle. We talked about it a little bit when I talked about Wildstar, where we had an explorer path. That was a really interesting path because it's not quite stealth. It includes parkour. It includes being able to detect alternate paths, either because they're hidden or they're natural. So like you notice a cave entrance that other people don't see. It just looks like stone to them. That's a really cool playstyle that could be explored a lot more, with skills like parkour and outdoorsmen and, nature observation skills. Those are really cool things that could be put in a game and make an entire play path called exploration, where you get most of your XPs and you advance the storyline through just exploring the environment and learning all the secrets that are in it. I like that. One side effect of it's neither creation nor progression, so I put it in its own category, and that was no forced alignment. I don't like games that make you be the good guy. Or I don't even like games that make you be the bad guy either. I don't want to have to be good or bad. I want to be able to do good and bad, or decide if I want to be good and bad. We did this a lot in Fallout and in Arcanum too. We made situations and therefore quests that were morally gray. There was no perfect way to do it. There may not even be a correct way to do it. No matter how you do it, there are some people who thought you did it good. Some people thought you did it bad. I talked about, you may piss off one faction, another one likes you. Those are good, as long as when you get into it, you kind of know, okay, I know what's going to happen if I solve this. As long as you're forced to deal with the consequences of your actions in an RPG, I like that. Doing something and getting away with it scot-free should be rare. Like, I get it. If you kill someone and you're super stealthy and no one sees you do it, okay. But if you steal something and you sell it, eventually those people are going to know it's stolen, and they may eventually find out it's you. And I think that's cool. I like that eventually my actions catch up to me, whether they're good or bad. And that brings me to game endings, which I kind of touched on earlier, where I like multiple endings. And that doesn't just mean multiple ways of defeating the last encounter. Sometimes I like that there's completely different ways for a game to end. I also particularly like ending slides. I've used them in a lot of my games because I like the fact that we're going to tell the player the game's over and you got your ending and you did your ending your own way. But now let me tell you what all of your actions are going to do over the next few days and weeks and months and years in this area you just played through. Because that's really encouraging players, especially at the end, to replay. Because you look at it and you go, oh yeah, maybe I shouldn't have killed everybody in that town. Or maybe I should have fixed their water pump before I stole their water chip. And then if a lot of games just end there, but if the game lets you keep playing, I want to see the consequences to my choices in that world. So don't end and maybe give me slides and then go, you want to keep playing? And then I go back in the world and nothing's different. I want factions that are upset with me. I want factions that have gained more power. I want different random encounters in different areas because you've changed the balance of things, or you've wiped out all of something in an area and other things have moved in. These are things that I think should happen in an RPG if you let people keep playing past the story ending. In fact, I will put on my list, I have a whole discussion of how to do stories in MMOs that talks about just that thing. But anyway, that's something I love in endings of RPGs. Okay, that was an awful lot. So, in summary, I like to make my own character. I like rich progression. I like a story that reacts to me. I like variety of playstyle. I like no forced player alignment. And I like ending consequences. If you got those, good chance I'll like your game. If you don't have all of those, The less you got, the less I like. Hope you like that.